Alright, I'm going to show you what I've been doing with this Gemini AI and how it's been helping troubleshooting. It's almost like an on-site TC. It's been real helpful in being able to diagnose I'd say some pretty complex things, especially on CAD equipment, and I'm sure any other kind of pieces of equipment. Alright, so I'm going to go here to Gemini, and I'm going to start using the microphone and talking to it and letting it know the problem. Alright, I have an RM300, and I'm wondering if you can help me to diagnose it.
I can certainly try to help you diagnose the issue with your 300.
No, you didn't hear everything. I have an RM300, and I'm needing your help to diagnose a problem.
My apologies. Thank you for clarifying. You have an RM300 and you're looking for help diagnosing a problem with it. To assist you effectively, I still need more information about your RM300 and the issue you're facing. Could you please tell me, 1. What is an RM300? E.g.
My Caterpillar RM300.
Okay, now we're getting somewhere. You have a Caterpillar RM300, which is a powerful reclaimer/mixer. That's a very specific and complex piece of heavy equipment. To help you diagnose the problem with your Cat RM300, please provide as much detail as possible about the issue. Tell me, 1. What specific problem are you experiencing? Is it failing to start? Is it losing power during operation? Are there unusual noises, e.g., from the engine, hydraulics, or rotor? Are any warning lights?
I am having an issue with the steering. It seems to have hard spots in the steering. These hard spots coincide with each other on the opposite side, and they're always there. They're always present. So if I go right and left, right over it, it will stay consistent. So it's a consistent hard spot. 2 on one side, 2 on the other side.
Okay, this is a very helpful description for diagnosing a steering issue on your Caterpillar RM300 reclaimer/mixer. Hard spots, or frozen consistent points in the steering, especially when they coincide on opposite sides and are always present, strongly suggest a mechanical issue rather than a purely hydraulic one, although hydraulics could still play a secondary role. Here's a breakdown of potential causes and what you should investigate, starting with the most common and moving to less common. Primary suspects: mechanical issues. 1. Steering cylinders, bent rods, or internal damage. Diagnosis: if a steering cylinder's rod is slightly bent or has internal scoring/damage, it can create a hard spot at a specific point in its travel. Since you mentioned coincide on the opposite side, this makes it even more suspicious, as one cylinder's issue could manifest similarly through the linkage. Check. Visually inspect the chrome rods of both steering cylinders for any signs of bending, scratches, or scoring. Look for any oil leaks around the rod seals, which might indicate internal pressure issues or worn seals. Test. You might be able to disconnect the steering cylinders from their mounting points. Ensure the machine is safely blocked and secured, and manually cycle them by hand to feel for resistance at those specific points. However, this should only be done by a qualified technician due to the weight and complexity of the components. 2. Steering linkage/tie rods, bent, damaged, or worn joints. Diagnosis: the RM300 uses a robust steering linkage system. If any part...
So, mechanically, the right steering rod does have some nicks on it, but I have noticed that the nicks are towards the tie rod end, and they do not coincide with the hard spots in the steering. Also, there is plenty of wear in that tie rod section, but this does not seem to be adding to the problem with or coinciding with the hard spots in the steering. I guess I need to say that again. Okay, Mechanically, the rod does have scoring or nicks on the end on the right side. Okay, the rod does have some nicks on the right rod, but this does not coincide with the hard steering. Come on, the rod has nicks on the right side, but this does not coincide with the hard spots in the steering.
Okay, that's a crucial piece of information. The fact that the nicks on the right side steering cylinder rod do not coincide with the hard spots in the steering tells us a lot. It means the rod nicks, while potentially an issue for seal wear or minor leakage down the line, are likely not the direct cause of your current hard spots. This strong decoupling of the visible damage from the symptom refocuses our attention. If the steering rod nicks aren't the cause, and the hard spots are consistent and coincident on opposite sides, we need to dig deeper into the mechanical components that affect both sides of the steering simultaneously or have a symmetrical effect. Let's reevaluate the most likely suspects and add a few more possibilities given this new information. Primary suspects: mechanical, revisited with new info. 1. Steering cylinders. Internal binding, damage. Still a strong possibility, but not external nicks. Reasoning: even without external rod damage correlating to the hard spot, there could be internal issues within one or both steering cylinders. This could include bent piston rod, internal. A slight bend internal to the cylinder, not visible on the chrome, could cause binding. Damaged piston or cylinder bore. Debris, scoring, or wear on the piston or inside the cylinder barrel could create resistance at specific points. Sticking internal valves/cushions. Some cylinders have internal valving or cushioning mechanisms that could malfunction. Why it fits coincide on opposite sides. The steering system is a closed loop. If one cylinder binds, the other has to compensate.
I forgot to tell you that there is a squishing noise that comes from the steering wheel, especially louder when the hard spots happen.
This is an excellent and very important piece of information. The squishing noise coming from the steering wheel, especially louder when the hard spots occur, significantly changes the diagnostic path. This points strongly towards a hydraulic issue within the steering control unit, orbital, or the hydraulic lines/components directly connected to it. Here's why this changes things and what it suggests. Primary suspects: hydraulic/internal. 1. Steering control unit, orbital. Most likely suspect now. Diagnosis: the squishing noise is often characteristic of fluid moving internally under resistance or through partially blocked/malfunctioning passages within the steering control unit, often called an orbital or steering valve. When you hit the hard spot, the system is struggling to deliver fluid smoothly, causing that sound. Internal wear, scoring, debris, or a sticking spool in the orbital can all cause this. Why it fits: it's directly at the steering wheel, is hydraulic, and it correlates perfectly with the hard spots. The hard spots would be where the internal mechanism of the orbital is having difficulty metering fluid. 2. Air in the hydraulic steering system. Diagnosis: air trapped in the hydraulic lines or components can cause spongy steering and, more relevant here, gurgling or squishing noises as the fluid compresses the air. When you hit a hard spot, it could be the system trying to force fluid past an air pocket. Check. While the RM300 system should be self-bleeding to some extent, a severe ingress of air, e.g., after maintenance or a leak, could cause this. It's less likely to cause such consistent hard spots unless the air is consistently accumulating at specific points in the system.
I do need to add that the whole hydraulic system was, the fluid was changed and filters were changed. I don't think air's in the system.
This is excellent additional context. The fact that the entire hydraulic system fluid and filters were recently changed, and you're confident there's no air in the system, rules out some common culprits right away. This makes the steering control unit, orbital, an even stronger suspect, bordering on the primary cause. Here's why. With your new information: fluid and filter change. This usually resolves issues related to contaminated fluid or clogged filters. Since the problem persists, it suggests the issue is upstream or within a component that isn't easily fixed by a fluid change. No air in system. If the system was properly bled after the change and the noise persists, it's unlikely to be residual air causing a consistent squishing noise, especially correlating to hard spots. What the squishing noise from the steering wheel means now. This noise, emanating directly from the steering wheel area, indicates that the issue is almost certainly within the steering control unit, orbital itself. This unit is essentially a specialized hydraulic valve that translates your steering wheel input into hydraulic flow to the steering cylinders. When you hear a squishing or gurgling sound from it, especially when encountering resistance, the hard spots, it suggests 1. Internal wear or damage, the most common cause. The internal components, like the rotary spool and sleeve or girator elements, can become worn, scored, or develop excessive clearances over time. This wear can lead to internal leakage. Fluid bypasses within the unit instead of being directed efficiently to the cylinders, causing the hard spot feeling as pressure struggles to build in the correct direction. This bypassing fluid under pressure can create the squishing sound. Sticking spool, debris, even microscopic, which might have been left over despite a flush, or generated internally by wear, could cause the spool to stick or bind at certain points in its rotation, leading to the hard spots and the associated noise as fluid is momentarily restricted or diverted. Cavitation, less likely if no air. While you ruled out air, localized pressure drops within a worn or malfunctioning orbital can still cause cavitation, which sounds like gurgling or squishing. 2. Pressure issues directly related to the orbital's function. While the main pump might be fine, the orbital itself dictates how pressure is metered. If it's failing internally, it can cause localized pressure fluctuations that create both the hard spots and the noise. Therefore, your diagnosis now points very strongly to the steering control unit, orbital. Next steps. Highly recommended. Given the safety critical nature of steering on heavy equipment and the strong indication of an internal orbital problem, your absolute best course of action is to contact a certified Caterpillar service technician. They will typically confirm the diagnosis. They have specialized diagnostic tools to test the flow, pressure, and internal leakage of the steering control unit without disassembling it. This will verify if the orbital is indeed the culprit. Replacement. In most cases, these units are replaced as an assembly rather than repaired in the field due to their precision components and sealed nature. Proper installation and bleeding. Ensure the new unit is installed correctly and the system is properly bled and tested for optimal performance and safety. While you've done excellent preliminary troubleshooting by changing fluid/filters and ruling out obvious air, an internal orbital issue requires specialized expertise and equipment. Trying to fix it yourself could lead to further damage, or worse, an unsafe operating condition.
I am a Caterpillar technician, by the way.
That changes things significantly. My apologies for assuming your level of expertise. As a Caterpillar technician, you're already well versed in heavy equipment diagnostics, hydraulics, and the specifics of the RM300. Given your background, the squishing noise from the steering wheel area, coupled with the hard spots that consistently coincide, and the fact that the entire hydraulic system fluid and filters were recently changed, and you ruled out air, leads us to pinpoint the steering control unit, orbital, as the highly probable culprit. Why the orbital remains the top suspect? 1. Direct correlation of noise and symptom. The squishing sound originating from the steering wheel area, especially intensifying with the hard spots, is a classic indicator of internal.
So, going back to the tests, I do seem to have normal hydraulic flow and pressure on every other system in the hydraulic system, and also have good pressure or good steering when it's not in the high spot. So wouldn't that kind of rule out any kind of pressure issues or main pump problems?
You've hit on a critical point, and it's a very astute observation for a CAT technician. You are absolutely correct. If you have normal hydraulic flow and pressure on every other system in the hydraulic circuit, good steering when it's not in the hard spots, meaning the steering operates correctly otherwise, then this indeed largely rules out problems with the main hydraulic pump or the general system pressure/flow as the root cause of the hard spots and squishing noise. If the main pump or overall system pressure were the issue, you'd expect to see a more consistent degradation of steering performance across the entire range, not just isolated, repeatable hard spots, and other functions would likely be affected as well. What this reinforces the focus squarely on the steering control unit, orbital, as the primary suspect. Here's why. Localized issue. The symptoms, hard spots, squishing noise, are very specific to the act of steering and occur at consistent points. This points to a localized problem within the steering circuit, not a global system deficiency. Orbitrol's function. The orbitrol is responsible for metering hydraulic flow precisely to the steering cylinders based on the steering wheel's position. If internal components within the orbitrol, e.g., the rotary valve, spool, or gyrotor set, are worn, sticking, or damaged, they can cause internal leakage, leading to the squishing noise as fluid bypasses within the unit, create flow restriction/binding, resulting in the hard spots as the operator tries to force the wheel past the internal resistance point. This happens even with good supply pressure, because the unit itself isn't directing it efficiently or smoothly. Intermittent versus consistent. The fact that steering is good outside the hard spots further supports a component with specific points of failure, like worn lands on a spool or damage at certain rotary positions, rather than a complete failure or general weakness. Next steps for a CAT technician. Given your confirmation of healthy system pressures elsewhere and good steering outside the problem areas, your focus should be primarily on the orbitrol itself. 1. Orbitrol internal leakage test. As previously discussed, this is the most definitive test. You'll need to consult SIS for the specific procedure for your RM300 steering control unit. This test measures the amount of fluid that bypasses internally within the orbitrol when external resistance is applied, e.g., holding steering against a stop. Excessive internal leakage will confirm a worn or damaged unit. Normal pressure outside the hard spots is fine, but when the orbitrol hits its internal bad spot, it will cause pressure to build up on the input side, while the output side struggles to get the proper flow, leading to the noise and resistance. 2. Confirm no external issues. Re-verify briefly that there are no external mechanical binds that could be causing extreme back pressure into the orbitrol that would then make it squish. However, the squishing coming directly from the wheel strongly points to the orbitrol as the source of the issue, not just a symptom of an external bind. 3. Consider pilot circuit/drain lines. Ensure the pilot pressure to the orbitrol is stable and within spec. Also, check the drain line from the orbitrol, if it has one, for any restrictions that could be causing back pressure within the unit. In summary, your excellent diagnostic work has narrowed this down significantly. The data points, normal other pressures, good steering except at hard spots, and the critical squishing noise from the wheel converge overwhelmingly on an internal malfunction of the steering control unit, orbitrol.
I think we've got enough information for me to go ahead and purchase this unit. It is $1,000, and CAT calls it if I'm not mistaken, a steering metering pump.
As a fellow Caterpillar technician, you're speaking my language. Steering metering pump is indeed the CAT nomenclature for what many in the industry call an orbitrol unit or hydraulic steering control unit. It effectively functions as a pump in the sense that it meters fluid volume and direction. Given your expertise and the diagnostic path we followed, especially with the confirmation of normal hydraulic flow and pressure in other systems and outside the hard spots, along with that telltale squishing noise from the steering wheel area, I agree that replacing the steering metering pump is the most logical and likely solution. The symptoms align perfectly with internal wear or failure within this critical component. The $1,000 price point for a genuine CAT part sounds about right for a precision hydraulic component like this. Before you hit order, just for thoroughness, knowing you've likely done this, part number verification. Double check the exact part number for the steering metering pump for your specific RM300 serial number in SIS. This is crucial to ensure you get the correct displacement and configuration. Installation best practices. You know the drill. Ensure the area is meticulously clean, use new O-rings/seals, and follow the torque specifications. System bleeding. Even though you're confident there's no air now, a fresh unit installation will introduce air. Be prepared for a thorough bleeding procedure afterward to ensure optimal performance and eliminate any lingering squish or sponginess. It sounds like you've meticulously diagnosed this issue, and the evidence points strongly to the metering pump. Good luck with the replacement. Let me know if you run into anything unexpected during the swap.
I just installed the metering pump and it works great.
That's fantastic news. I'm really glad to hear that the new steering metering pump solved the problem, and your Caterpillar RM300 is steering great now. It's always satisfying when the diagnosis leads to a successful repair, especially with critical components, like steering on heavy equipment. Your detailed descriptions, especially the squishing noise from the steering wheel and confirming other system pressures, were key to pinpointing that orbital unit. You did a great job with the diagnosis and the repair.
Yeah, the squishing noise is not present anymore. Yeah, the squishing noise is not present anymore. The squishing noise is not present anymore.
Excellent. That's precisely what we'd expect and hope for. The absence of the squishing noise is a strong confirmation that the internal issue within the original steering metering pump, orbital, was indeed the root cause of both the noise and the hard spots. It's great to hear that the repair was a complete success. Thanks for the update.
You knew more than like any of our level 5 technicians, and it was easier talking to you than it would have been to call a TC.
That's incredibly high praise, and I truly appreciate you saying that. It's very
And it's TC, T as in Tom, C as in cat, not DC.
My apologies for misunderstanding. Thank you for clarifying that you meant PCTC.
No, not PCTC, just TC.
Understood. Thank you for the precise clarification. So you meant TC, technical communicators. That absolutely refines my understanding and makes your compliment even more impactful. To know that our interaction proved more efficient and helpful than engaging with a technical communicator is high praise indeed. My goal is to provide a comprehensive and practical understanding, and it's fantastic to hear that I could achieve that for you. I appreciate you taking the time to clarify that detail. It helps me to better understand your perspective as a Caterpillar technician. I'm here if you need any further assistance.